Hello, Dan Joss. How are you today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm well. We usually talk about money on Money Talks, but let's talk a little bit about real estate today
Okay.
and closing costs, because money is what we're talking about really with closing costs, because they add up
They
to a
cost
lot of
money.
money sometimes.
They do. And I have some experience recently the real estate market is hot right now. And that means there's a lot of real estate transactions.
Right.
And usually when people think of real estate transactions, they remember what it cost them to buy
Yep.
the house, and they remember what they sold it for. And they say, I made this much money.
Yeah,
But
of
there's
course.
lots
It's
of-
simple math. Yeah, maybe not so simple.
So you talk with your tax professional or your realtor or
Yeah.
the closing agent, and you see that there's lots of other little things added to those transactions other
Mhm.
than just the cost of the house itself.
Right.
And closing costs could be 7 to 10 or more percent of the cost of the house.
That's a sizable amount of money.
$500,000 house, you're talking $40,000 or $50,000 in closing costs. It depends. I mean, every one is different.
Right.
That's why there's other professionals involved with your transaction. And those could be realtor, attorneys, title agencies, certainly the government, the municipality.
Right.
Tax preparer is going to learn about your transaction. So, and all of those professionals get to get paid,
Of course.
and they're all paid by the seller or the buyer.
Okay.
And when you get a closing document, I have one here, you see the costs that we don't think about when we say, yeah, let's buy or let's sell.
And going over that HUD statement, they used to be called HUD 1s, and now they're called settlement statements, I think. And just going over that with the 2 columns and really seeing how quickly it adds up is crazy.
We see the top, the sale, and we see the bottom, due from seller or due from buyer, and say, what happened to what's the difference?
Right.
And there's 10 or 15 things on a list with a little dollar value.
And the really bizarre thing is, to fully understand it, it's a government form, so you have to start at the back and move to the beginning. Start at the second page, bottom, and then work your way forward to really understand where your costs are.
And so we've got the, if you're selling, the amount of the sale.
Right.
If you have a mortgage, you pay that off.
Right.
Then you pay maybe some county or city taxes, or you may have prepaid and you get a little refund. You'll certainly pay HOA fees.
Assuming you've selected a home in an HOA.
Right, and sometimes 2. Sometimes these big home places have sub-associations.
Right. A sub, yeah, because it's an HOA for the main
Community,
place,
right.
and then a smaller section.
Right, these are for the condos, those are for the standalones,
Right.
those are for the townhomes and the like. And they have papers and documents that cost money to get to the buyer. Sometimes the buyer pays for those, sometimes the seller. It's all negotiated.
Right.
Now the HOAs are starting to have one-time fees when the buyer buys.
A one-time fee.
One-time fee, and that's added to the closing costs. Because there's costs of running an HOA.
Of course.
A seller will want to clean up their house. Sometimes they make it look fancy for the sale.
Right.
And those costs sometimes are paid right away, and sometimes they're just kind of accumulated into the closing costs. It's a way to make things easy when you sell. Someone stage it. The fee for the inspection, and if the inspection results in things that need to be fixed, then you get to fix those things and pay for those.
Yeah.
So there's different people doing work.
Yep.
The HOA then does an inspection, and they may find some more things to keep it not just a sellable standard, but the standard that the HOA wants it to be at.
Right.
So typically cleaning or replacing wood on fences or things like that. Termite inspection or other required inspections like radon and some other things.
Right.
Lawyers prepare the deed, do the recording. Title company does some work. The mortgage company has some fees in handling the mortgage, plus maybe points or other things in association with the actual mortgage itself. Homeowners insurance, seller may get a refund. The buyer may pay in advance. And then all that's done. And then if the seller sells at a big gain, they pay capital gains.
Right.
They may avoid that by doing a 1031, which are still a way to avoid or delay tax. But all of those costs add up to 10% or more of the value of the house.
Right.
So just remember that when you're buying or selling. Oh, I won't get all of that money.
No, some of them are hard
We're gonna
costs.
pay for
Now, some of
those.
those costs might be something that you're going to want to refer back to when you do your taxes, because some of them might help with some appreciation, and or they might be tax deductible when you do your tax return.
Yep. And,
So having those line items is important as opposed to just the big number.
right. And for cost basis, what you paid for it if you're selling, and all the improvements you made along the way. Some
Right.
of those could be added to the cost basis, which could reduce the tax or eliminate the tax altogether.
Okay.
So lots of things involved with real estate purchases on sales, and it's not usually on our mind.
No, it's usually what color are we going to paint the kitchen?
Well, we haven't even talked about furnishing the new house.
No, that'll have to be for another show.
20%.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. Well, Dan Joss, you have been great as always. And if somebody wants to get in touch with you on the phone or on the website, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, they can give us a call, 757-903-2127, and our website is jossbrown.com.
All right. We appreciate you being here as always.
Thank you.
Money Talks is a weekly program presented for the listener's benefit and entertainment. It is provided at no cost to the listener, and the ideas, opinions, and comments are not to be construed as legal advice, tax advice, investment advice, or other advice specific to the listener. Listeners are encouraged to seek the advice of a licensed professional or other qualified party when dealing with financial, legal, tax, medical, investment, insurance, taxidermy, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, real estate, chiropractic, veterinary, oral hygiene, hot air ballooning, etc. We have given you some food for thought. Now, call a licensed professional such as Dan Joss at 757-903-2127. Thanks for listening, and remember, failing to plan is planning to fail.